and welcome back. And for my new viewers just popping in, I am your host, Joanne, and I have my guest here today, Gabriella. And just want to ask you to grab a pen and paper because I have a feeling you're going to want to take some notes here. So I'm going to just give you that 10 seconds to go and do that. And before we dive into the big questions, Gabriella, if you can just share with the viewers just a brief introduction to how you actually became a medical intuitive.
Sure. I became a medical intuitive because I had to diagnose my own gluten intolerance. And that was about 12 years ago, I think. And I was just getting nowhere with doctors and my body wasn't responding well. And so I started researching, learned muscle testing, and just kept going from there. I am a certified health coach. I have taken a lot of naturopathy classes.
Awesome, awesome. So would you say the medical intuitive sort of found you?
It did, yeah.
Yeah, because as I asked you the question, I'm like, yeah, she didn't go looking for it, it found you. So, because I always believe that anything we experience or have, it's a part of our journey for you to do what you're doing. So if you didn't have the gluten issue, you wouldn't be tapping into the medical intuitive within you. And you've had the medical intuitive within you, which is why the gluten issue came up. Do you agree?
I do, yes.
Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to dive right into the big questions here because this is all about COVID-19 for our viewers. So again, have those pens and papers ready. So in regards to prevention, how does one prevent themselves from experiencing, I'm going to use the word experience as opposed to getting, the COVID-19 virus, or any virus for that matter?
Sure. Some things that I have found very useful for prevention of a virus, and that is the cold and flu season, SARS-CoV-2, anything, is essential oils topically. I like the Thieves Blend by Young Living, but there's a lot of other brands that aren't so expensive, but they still work. So on my website, I actually have some links to everything that I'm going to talk about today. If you want to know specific brands that I recommend, you can go to my website and find out. Another thing for keeping flu viruses away, any virus, is make sure your immune system is doing well. So that's vitamin D3. Now in the summer, if you're going outside and the sun's been out, we don't need to supplement that. But as soon as fall and winter hits again, you definitely want to supplement if you live in the north like we do. Another thing that you want to probably muscle test is zinc, because you can have too much zinc, but you don't want not enough zinc, because not enough zinc will leave you in a situation where your immune system's not working well enough. One thing specifically for this COVID thing going on is a probiotic. It's a Prevotella probiotic, which is not your typical probiotic. And that is because from what I've read and from what I've muscle tested, SARS-CoV-2 virus is connected with Prevotella. And Prevotella is a good bacteria as long as it's not connected to a virus. So your body welcomes the Prevotella if it needs it. But if it doesn't need it, you are much safer. Those are my top prevention recommendations.
Awesome. Now, for how soon can someone implement these recommendations to prevent themselves from getting the virus? So if they've never done this before and they decided tomorrow they want to go and start stocking up on making sure they got their vitamin D3, their probiotics, and just making sure the immune system is healthy. How soon can they activate it and that it will work for them?
Well, the essential oil works very quickly. And that I put on every couple days, right on my wrists, and I just rub it into the other one. And if you're going someplace where there's going to be a lot of people, if you're taking the subway, if you're, I would put that on just before you go out. So that works quickly. The vitamin D is something that takes probably a few days to build up if you were low. And the probiotic might take a week, but you would be less and less in danger of, as it builds up. So
okay, so what I'm hearing is pretty quick, so to speak, to getting themselves in that preventive plan versus not doing anything at all.
Yes.
Yes. So my question regarding the essential oil, only because again, the Thieves is from Young Living. Now, would you say On Guard is just as sufficient as Thieves, or would you think Thieves is better? Or is there not such a thing as better?
Well, On Guard has muscle tested better for certain things. For COVID, it is not. The lemon oil, I believe it's the lemon oil that's the difference, and that's needed. So the Thieves blend, or there's Rocky Mountain Oils has an immune strength blend, now has a Nature's Shield. So, but you need the lemon essential oil in there.
Oh, okay. So now, if somebody were taking the On Guard with lemon oil, would that be sufficient, or really?
That would
yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Only because again, I know that some people may be more the Torah advocates for living, but just so they can see the difference and if there is. So, yeah.
Right. Yep.
Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
So we're going to dive into the next question, which is obviously, which for me it makes sense. We just spoke about the preventative. Now I'd like to speak about someone who's had the virus. How do they know they've actually healed from it? And can they heal from it?
They can heal from it. It can take some intention. Depending on what part of their body was affected by the virus, that would determine what needs to be remedied. This virus, unlike the previous SARS virus, this one is activated by a protein that is many places in our body, not just our respiratory system. So many times what happens is the thing that's affected first or the most is the blood. The hemoglobin gets damaged and it drops its iron ion. And when it drops the iron ion, there's a free iron in your body, and that's very damaging. And it also can't carry oxygen. So that hemoglobin isn't carrying the oxygen that it usually carries. So your oxygen level goes down. And that's because of the blood, not because of the lungs.
Interesting.
In many situations. Now, there can be damage from the lungs to the lungs from the iron, but that's secondary. So yes, there are certainly people with damaged lungs, but what came first is the question.
Yes. That big old question.
Yes. The iron can also affect the liver, the kidneys, and the glands. So there are several different supplements to take for that. But the first supplement that I recommend for somebody that is sick is either wormwood or quinine. And those are both natural supplements of plants that people historically have used for malaria. Now, malaria attacks the hemoglobin. So those plants are supplements that protect the hemoglobin. And with COVID-19, that is very important. And free iron, there's a few symptoms of, one specific symptom of free iron that I want to mention that's common with COVID is the loss of taste and smell.
Oh, okay.
And that's from a metal imbalance caused by the free iron. So if you have experienced that, you need to make sure that your blood is supported. And in order to do that, it's the liver and the spleen that recycle the blood and replenish it. So you need liver support, and that's milk thistle. That's a very good liver support. The zinc, not only does it prevent COVID, but it cleans up the iron that's loose in your body. So muscle test the dose, but zinc is important. Another thing, actually, if you get sick, if you start to come down with it, is Indian echinacea, which is called andrographis. And what that does, echinacea and Indian echinacea both break down the outside layer of the virus so that your body can get rid of it, because there's a shell around it. And let's see what else. So the lungs need support recovering, and that one good thing supplement for that is mullein, mullein, mullein leaf. That will help your body rebuild the lungs. And then antioxidants to heal the damage from the oxidation, which was done by the iron ions. So we talk about oxidative damage, but where does that come from? That comes from ions. And when there's loose iron, that's what's happening to the body, oxidative damage. So we all have heard about foods that are high in antioxidants. Blueberries is one of them. So you can go with foods and you can go with supplements. Vitamin C is a good antioxidant. Glutamine is another one. Zinc, which I already mentioned. And there are plenty of foods that you can use as well.
Awesome. Now, if there's more that you can share, but before we do that, we're going to take a commercial break. And if there is more that you can share about this, we'll come back and share it. And then we'll move on to some other questions. But before we go to commercial break, just let the viewers know how they can reach you again.
Sure. My website is alivehealthsolutions.com. And my email is gem@alivehealthsolutions.com.
Thank you. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Keep those pens and papers handy, and we'll be right back. Hello, and welcome back. For those of you just joining, remember to share, like, and comment. And we also have Roku, so go and check that out. I am your host, Joanne, and I have my amazing guest, Gabriella, on the show with us today. She's a medical intuitive. She's been sharing all about the COVID-19, how to heal from it, how to prevent it. And I'm going to dive into my next question regarding the immune system. And what does a healthy immune system look like?
Well, a healthy immune system is one that can identify and defend against an intruder. So an intruder can be a toxin, which is a chemical or a metal. It can be a pathogen, which are bacteria, viruses, fungi, yeast. Now, there is such a thing as good bacteria, of course, but even when that type of bacteria, if it's in the wrong place, it's no longer good bacteria. In that situation, it's an intruder. So our body needs to be able to defend itself. And in that way, it is set up to remember old things that it's seen. So that's why if you've already had chickenpox, your body knows how to defend itself because it tried a few things and it found the right thing, and now it stored that information. So there's a few different steps of the immune system. One is just inflammation, and that's an important first step because as soon as a pathogen, any intruder gets in your body, inflammation. And what is the purpose of inflammation? It is to stop the movement, stop the spread. So that is the very first step. The next step is to there's more specific cells that get sent to that location to deal with whatever specific thing it is, whether it's a toxin or a pathogen and what type of pathogen. So it needs the nutrients. You need to give it the nutrients it needs to be able to do its job. So that's why vitamin D is very important, because it will use up vitamin D as it's fighting, and then it will need more. And if it doesn't have more, it can't continue. Just like if you're making something and you run out of a part, you can't continue. Mm-hmm. So you make sure you keep those big nutrients, keep them up, and take extra when you're sick. And that's vitamin D and vitamin C. Those are the biggest ones that they are well known, but they're so important.
Interesting. I love it. And we covered all the protocol in regards to anyone who's had the virus, how to heal from it. We covered all that.
There are 2 minerals that I would recommend. Now, potassium, SARS-CoV-2 affects the ACE2 receptors. And when those are busy, your body can't use potassium correctly and it loses it. So if you're to measure the potassium level in people's urine, it would be higher than normal. So supplement potassium as needed to get that back up to the optimal level. And muscle testing is a good way to know what that optimal level is. The kidneys, when they're under stress, they use magnesium. The adrenal glands are connected to the kidneys. So that combination, physical sickness is the same thing as emotional stress. So your adrenal glands are working overtime and you need to supplement with magnesium.
Thank you for that. Thank you. And I'm sure the viewers are like this, writing everything down. Yes. So here goes one of my big questions for you. What have you learned about yourself in the COVID-19?
Let's see. What have I learned about myself? I think I've learned how frustrated I get when people don't have the answers.
Okay. That's a good thing to learn. Yes. I would think that the person would get more frustrated, but I guess because you being the medical intuitive, it is frustrated, that they don't have. But thanks for you being on the show today. A lot of viewers are going to have more answers than they had before they came to watch the show. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Thank you. Yes. And now, in regards to 5 years from now, where do you see yourself and your practice 5 years from now?
Well, I really would like to teach. I have a method of healing, so I don't just find out what's wrong with people by using intuition. I work on finding the root cause and then communicating to the subconscious to ask it to get that fixed. And most of the time, the problem is not that our bodies can't heal themselves. It's that they're not good at troubleshooting. And with my computer science background, I'm pretty good at troubleshooting. So I do a lot of research and find out what could it be? What could be causing this? And when I get the questions, then I ask the questions and I muscle test to find out if it is causing it. And if it is, then we ask the body to fix it. And most of the time it does. There are sometimes it needs nutrients, and then it will. There are sometimes that emotional healing needs to happen first, and I help with that too. So I have some cases where I'm still working through things, but there's a lot of things that I already understand very well, and I can just go right through. I know the questions to ask. I know what needs to be done.
Awesome. So all you got to do now is set the intentions to become the teacher and teach it. That's awesome. And I see that for you. I see that in your future, even before 5 years from now.
Sure.
I see it definitely happening sooner than later.
Yes.
Yes.
It's just a bigger and bigger platform, I think, as the years go by. And
Exactly.
the wellness center that I just joined with just before everything shut down is probably going to be able to open in the next week or two. So
awesome.
And they have a room for teaching. So I'm really excited about that.
There you go. There's your first platform.
Yes.
Well, actually should be your second, because I think here today you did a lot of teaching as well. So yeah.
I have, yes, I'm a natural teacher. I homeschool my 2 teenage boys. My son actually is graduating on Saturday.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.